We are depriving 75% of CrossFitters. The CrossFit Open does not need strength tests. Well, that's the general vibe I'm getting from this video that Dave put out.
If we were to have a 1 rep max, say, clean and jerk in the Open, and I won't say we didn't test strength. Don't say we didn't test strength specifically in the quarterfinals. If we would have had a 1 rep max clean and jerk in the Open as one of the 3 workouts, or even added as a part B, it would really skew the results overall, because you'd have outliers. You have people who signed up and who have no work capacity or very low work capacity and are really strong and just put these huge numbers up and they are not overall fit. So in the Open, it really clutters the data. Even at the quarterfinal level, you'll have a lot of people who are fit enough to advance to the quarterfinals, but are really strength athletes and have really strong numbers, and that could knock out the cohort we're looking at have advanced to the semis, which are people who are well-rounded CrossFitters with a high level of work capacity across broad type and modal domains. So if we had just a pure strength element there, it skews with the data a little.
He suggests that testing strength within the first 3 workouts of the Open would massively skew the results towards outliers that can lift really heavy but don't necessarily have the capacity. I definitely think in the last couple of years I could be considered one of these athletes. My strength numbers are quite high, especially for a woman, and I do have capacity in the fitness aspect, but it's not as high as it used to be, and my strength definitely far outweighs my capacity. That's not really from my own doing. I came into CrossFit with a 150 deadlift, having done 6 months of powerlifting, and I've been strong the whole time that I've done it. Within the first couple of years, I could clean 100 kilos, and if I just train within the general CrossFit methodology, I get stronger without really having to try much. And unfortunately, in order to work on my weaknesses, I have to specifically select those weaknesses and do less strength. And there are probably loads of other people out there like me. But this isn't about me and my performance, and oddly, I kind of agree with him in some ways. I don't personally believe that max lifts test fitness, but I do think that strength is an element of fitness. There have been loads of different comments on this post with lots of different opinions, and it's caused quite an uproar. I'm going to discuss it mostly regarding the Open, because most of us do the Open. 75% of CrossFitters that compete in the season generally only do the Open. Tricky Ricky said, make the workouts for time and the remaining time to lift to unlock strength and show you have capacity. And see, I agree with this one. I think there are ways to show that you have the strength to lift and also the capacity at the same time. Someone that's an outlier that has basically no fitness at all but a really big lift is not going to get through the first part of the workout. And in this example, if the workout is for time, then you only have a limited amount of time to do the workout, and the faster you do it, the bigger window you have to lift. That would really undo this whole skewing of the results, because the people that have no fitness probably wouldn't meet the time cap. And a couple of people have pointed out that the high skill gymnastics has the same effect. That's just a load of crap. You can use the same argument for any type of workout. Hey, if we do a gymnastics workout, we will only get a lot of gymnasts in there that are not overall fit. If we do a cardio WOD, we just get a load of endurance people who are not overall fit. I'd argue that the same thing with high skill gymnastics movements. And this is a really good point. Why have we got this attitude towards barbells and weightlifting and not the same attitude towards the high skill gymnastics? And we have seen countless times over the last couple of years the kind of party trick style gymnastics come up in various stages of the season that have definitely lent more towards the people that have higher level gymnastic skills than people that are generally overall fit. As I've stated in previous videos, I don't particularly agree with the fact that the high-level gymnastics, like party trick style movements, are a true test of fitness, and I feel the same about a max Olympic lift. I think it needs to be a fair and broad test that encompasses those things, but in a way that doesn't massively skew the results. But if you take out those things, if you removed all of the gymnastics, or if you removed any heavy weightlifting test, then it does skew the results to the other things. So you can't simply remove it. You have to test them in a way that's more broad. For all the argument over 1RM skewing the results too heavily in the Open, imagine if you reverted back to 5 workouts like it used to be, throw in a part B on one of them, nowhere near the same skew then, plus can test a lot more ability rather than just pure hip hinge for 2 out of 3 workouts, which is quite a funny comment at the end. I would agree with this. I've done CrossFit since 2016, and back in the day we did 5 workouts and there was often a part B that was a max lift. And I don't personally think that that skewed the results loads, and of course you were already tired from doing the fitnessy part of the WOD anyway. I can see why 3 workouts would skew the results more, and I don't really know the rationale behind reducing it from 5 workouts to 3 workouts. I know we've had the introduction of quarterfinals, but I definitely preferred it when it was 5 and had a strength test, and I'll get into a little bit more why in a minute, because I think there's a really important part of this that we're missing. Isn't the point to have athletes who have different strengths? This is a wild take. Instead of skewing towards strength, it's skewed towards stamina. Still a skew, but to one component of fitness rather than another. 1RM snatch in 24-1B would have been sick. You also have people with no skill or strength that smoked the first 2 workouts. Is that not the same thing? Just my opinion here, if the Open is to test more well-rounded athletes, then why drop the weight for the deadlift in 24.2? Well-rounded strength is included. Not a 1RM, but a strength portion was missing in all 3 workouts. So these are all making the same point, that by removing the strength portion, it skews in the other way towards the more cardio endurance athletes. And this is a good point about the deadlift. I didn't do the workout this year. I don't know how pregnant I was by then, probably like 7 months, but there was no way I was going to do it. I also wasn't in an affiliate, so to do it I would have to film. But I looked at all of the workouts and none of the lifts looked heavy to me, and I know I'm a heavy lifter, but that deadlift weight was not a test of strength. It was probably below the RX weights that I've lifted in most CrossFit classes, and I feel like the Open, especially the RX division, should be the RX weights that we would expect. And to test strength, I would say it almost needs to test that 1 rep max or a complex or a ladder or something that tests that strength like outside of the general just in a WOD. In the same way that I think it's important that muscle ups are in there and we don't just have all of the workouts that have pull ups and nothing else and then claim that that's a good test of gymnastics. We need that higher level skill and strength, but in a way that doesn't skew the results. Well, now you have people that have cardio but no strength in the Open. Can't have it both ways. Make it well rounded from the Open to the Games. And I completely agree with this statement. The Open claims to be a test of fitness, one that the whole world can take part in if they want to. And more we've had CrossFit trying to encourage people that are outside of CrossFit to have a go, like people in garage gyms, etc. But if the CrossFit Open is no longer a well-rounded test of fitness and it's just selecting for the people that they want to get to quarterfinals and semifinals, and therefore intentionally making sure the stronger athletes don't make it, it's not a well-rounded test of fitness if CrossFit truly believes that strength and high skill gymnastics and cardio are all an all-encompassing test of fitness, the broad time and modal domains. You can't claim that the Open is a good test of fitness if you're changing the test of fitness at various different stages. And by that I mean if you're changing the bias. So if you're making the Open really cardio heavy without a real strength test, but then you're like adding in a strength test later on, how can they both be a test of fitness? They're not, or at least not the same kind of fitness. And for me, this is the most important comment. Some people just want to do the Open for fun and have no desire to make it to quarterfinals, but we want Ollie lifts too. And this is the big one. We are depriving 75% of CrossFitters of doing a heavy Olympic lift in a fun environment with lots of support, which is something that they might not access on the day-to-day, especially if they're like a 7 a.m. or like 9 a.m. class. They might not have that buzz that you do in the Friday night lights. And back in 2016, 2017, 2018, that's what made me love the CrossFit Open so much, was that community environment, that buzz, people cheering you on, and just enjoying doing stuff like the max lift or seeing people get their first muscle up. That's exciting. And if it's a mass participation event and the goal, and I mean, I've seen Boz talking about the Open should be fun for everybody, it's something to enjoy, then that should also be a component of it. Like, CrossFit are trying to do a lot of things with this, and that must be really hard to pull off. But I think fun for most of the people that are doing the Open is an important element. That's just my opinion, but I think it plays a big part in whether people want to do the Open or not. And it's always been sold on the fact that it's fun for the community. My audience is overwhelmingly strength-based athletes. A lot of them probably fit this description, that have like a lower capacity than they do a strength-based. Every time I do a poll, they always prefer strength-based workouts. So a lot of the people that I hear from don't like this change, because most of my audience are beginners and intermediates and they don't have a goal to make it to quarterfinals. They just want to enjoy the Open. And the reason they do CrossFit is because it has strength elements. Otherwise they'd be doing high rocks or spinning classes or their local HIIT class at a random Globo gym. But I think it needs to be enjoyable and select the fittest 25% for the next stage. Going back to that comment before, it needs to test for fitness at every single stage and not skew at any real point. But not considering the qualification process at the moment. We're not thinking about the elite athletes or even the athletes getting to quarterfinals or semi-finals. What would you prefer to see in the Open? Do you think we should go back to the 5 workouts and have a strength test? How would you most enjoy it, and what do you think would make it the best community experience? I really want to know what your feelings are on that. Just thinking about people that do CrossFit like you and me, that 75%, because I think what we want is also important, and we shouldn't be disregarding in this process unless they truly just want the season to test for the fittest and they're done with the kind of community event enjoyment of it all. Because the attitude of this is basically saying we don't care that it's an overall test of fitness for the rest of the community, we just want to select the best athletes to go through to this next stage, or the athletes that we think should go to this next stage. We all deserve an all-encompassing test that actually tests fitness. And when we look at the semi-finals workouts that have recently been released, there's definitely more of a focus than there has been in previous years on capacity. And I like this more than seeing like extra party tricks or like random new movements being added in. I think this is a better test of fitness overall, and the snatch ladder is a really good test of strength whilst also testing capacity. And those like outlier strengthy athletes will only finish the ladder quicker, but to finish the ladder quicker they will also need fitness. I think ladders are a really good way to test it, and it caps it. I mean, I think the end snatch weight for women, I'm going to do it in kilos, is 79 kilos, which is big, but it's not that big. So somebody coming in with an Olympic weightlifting background with a 100 kilo snatch, you'd still have to get through all of the other weights and you just end up doing it faster. But if you're like a strength outlier and you don't have the fitness, you would struggle a lot more to get through all of those other barbells before getting there. And it also caps it at a certain weight, so it's more to do with speed than it is to do with maximal strength. Honestly, the semi-finals look really good and I think they've done an amazing job with them. And personally, I think something like maybe a clean ladder or a thruster ladder or something in the Open could have been really exciting. Like, have you ever done a ladder within your gym? They're so much fun and everybody gets so fired up. I feel like CrossFit is having a little bit of an identity crisis right now, but I'm hopeful that they'll come out of the other side with a clear message of what the sport will test and how. And I think these discussions need to be had and they need to try things out and see what works. But that can be so frustrating for all of the athletes participating. But I think it's just part of being part of a sport that claims to test fitness, and loads of people have different opinions on what that looks like. I love CrossFit, I love taking part in CrossFit, I love going to the gym that I go to, and CrossFit has always been sold on the community. But I think unfortunately, especially in recent years, there's been a bit of a change in the community feel. And some of this is coming down into gyms, some of this is in the comment sections online. We're seeing a lot of hate and volatility. And I think it's a huge problem that needs to be solved. And I'm a big believer that we need to discuss things in order to make change. If you're interested in hearing about that, then watch this video next. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.